All right, y'all, let me set the scene here. It was back in the early 2000s, I reckon around 2005 or so, when I was just a scrawny 10-year-old kid living in this sleepy suburb outside Miami, Florida. My name's Emily. Well, that's what I'll call myself for this story, keeping things anonymous like on those AITA threads, you know? Anyway, school was a nightmare for me. I was the new girl in town, having moved from up north after my folks split. Dad got a job down here in the heat, and Mom stayed behind with her family. So there I was sticking out like a sore thumb with my pale skin, freckles, and this thick Boston accent that made me sound like I was from another planet to these southern kids. The Bullies? Oh man, they were a pack of 3 or 4 mean middle schoolers, led by this punk named Jake. He was the kind of guy who'd strut around like he owned the playground, with his spiked hair and baggy jeans that were way too big for him. Jake and his crew, let's call him Mike, Tony, and that sneaky one, Chris, they'd pick on anyone smaller or different. But I was their favorite target. It started small, you know? They'd mock my accent, calling me Yankee Doodle or Boston Bean, lobbing their heads off every time I said wicked instead of cool. Then it escalated. They'd trip me in the hallways, steal my lunch money, and one time they even dumped my backpack in the mud after a rainstorm. I remember crying in the bathroom stall, feeling so alone, wishing I could just disappear. Home wasn't much better. Dad worked long hours at some construction gig, trying to make ends meet, so I spent afternoons at this community center near our apartment complex. It had a gym, a pool, and all sorts of after-school programs. That's where the magic started brewing, though I didn't know it yet. See, this center was sponsored by some big-shot celebrities, and word on the street was that Dwayne Johnson himself had ties to the place. He grew up in Miami, right? Played football at the University of Miami before becoming The Rock in WWE. Folks said he donated money and even showed up sometimes for events. I was a huge fan, watched all his movies like The Scorpion King on repeat, dreaming of being tough like him. Little did I know, fate was about to throw us together. One afternoon, after a particularly rough day at school, where Jake shoved me into a locker and called me a loser freak, I dragged myself to the center. My eyes were puffy from crying, and I just wanted to hide in the library corner with a book. But as I walked in, there was this buzz in the air. People were whispering, pointing, and then I saw him. Dwayne freaking Johnson, standing there in the lobby, signing in autographs for a group of kids. He was huge, like a mountain of muscle, with that signature smile and those tattooed arms. He was there for some charity event, talking about anti-bullying or something. My heart skipped a beat. I hung back, too shy to approach, but I watched him interact with everyone, making him laugh with his jokes. "If you smell what The Rock is cooking," he'd say, and the room would erupt. That's when things got interesting. I would sit on a bench outside the gym, nursing a bruise from earlier when Jake and his goons showed up. They weren't supposed to be there. The center was for younger kids mostly, but they snuck in through the back, probably looking for trouble. Spotting me alone, they sauntered over, smirking. "Hey, Yankee, what you doing here? Crying to your mommy?" Jake sneered, and his buddies chuckled. I tried to ignore him, but they circled me, poking in my backpack, calling me names. My stomach twisted in knots. I was terrified they'd start pushing me around right there. But just as Jake reached out to grab my arm, a shadow fell over us. A big, imposing shadow. "Hey kids," boomed this deep voice. "What's going on here?" It was Dwayne. He must have stepped out for a break and seen the commotion. The bullies froze, their eyes wide as saucers. Me? I was starstruck and scared all at once. Little did I know, this was the start of something legendary. Okay, picking up right where we left off, y'all. So there I am, sitting on that bench, heart pounding like a drum, with Jake's hand hovering midair about to yank my sleeve. And boom, Dwayne Johnson appears out of nowhere, towering over us like a guardian giant. His eyebrows were furrowed, that famous people's eyebrow arched high, and he crossed his arms, making his biceps look even bigger. I said, "What's going on?" He repeated, his voice firm but not yelling yet. Jake stammered, trying to play it cool. "Nothing, man. Just messing with our friend here." But Dwayne wasn't buying it. He looked at me, his eyes softening a bit. "You okay, kid?" I nodded, too stunned to speak, but tears welled up anyway. Dwayne knelt down to my level. Can you imagine? This WWE superstar, getting eye to eye with a crying 10-year-old. "Hey, don't let these jabronis get to ya," he said, using that classic rock lingo. The bullies shifted uncomfortably, realizing who they were dealing with. Mike whispered, "Dude, that's the Rock." And Tony looked like he was about to bolt. But Jake, being the idiot leader, tried to puff up. "We're just having fun. She can take a joke." Dwayne stood up slowly, turning to face him. "Fun? Looks like bullying to me. And let me tell you something, bullying ain't cool. It's weak. Real strength comes from lifting people up, not tearing them down." He flexed a little, not to show off, but to make a point. The kids were speechless. He didn't stop there. Dwayne pulled me aside gently, away from the group, and asked what was really going on. I spilled it all. The school taunts, the pushing, how I felt like an outsider. He listened, nodding, sharing bits of his own story. "You know, I got bullied too when I was your age," he confided. "Kids call me names because I was big and awkward. Moved around a lot. Felt like I didn't fit in. But I turned that pain into power. Worked out, found wrestling, and look at me now." It was inspiring, y'all. He made me feel seen, like my problems mattered. Then he turned back to the bullies. "You boys want to be tough? Come with me." He led us all into the gym, where the charity event was winding down. Inside, he set up this impromptu lesson, grabbed some mats, and showed us basic wrestling moves, not to fight, but to build confidence. "See, strength ain't about hurting others," he explained, demonstrating a safe hold on a volunteer. The bullies were hesitant at first, but Dwayne's charisma won him over. He had Jay try a move, correcting him kindly. "Good form, but remember, use this for good, not bad." I even got to participate, feeling empowered for the first time. We laughed, sweated, and by the end, the tension melted away. Jake mumbled an apology to me, looking genuine for once. Dwayne high-fived everyone, saying, "We're all in this together. No more bullying, got it?" It was like a movie scene, but real. As the day wrapped up, Dwayne signed my notebook with a message, "Stay strong, Emily. If you smell what the Rock is cooking." I floated home that night, telling Dad everything. He was skeptical at first. "The Rock? Really?" But when I showed him the autograph, his jaw dropped. Word spread at school the next day. Jake and his crew backed off completely. In fact, they started acting nicer, maybe scared Dwayne would show up again. But it wasn't just fear, it was respect. That encounter changed things for me. I started standing up for myself, joining sports at the center, making friends. Dwayne's words stuck, turned pain into power. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of our connection. Years later, it had come full circle in ways I never imagined. Fast forward a bit, listeners, about 5 years later, I'm 15 now, still in Miami, but tougher, thanks to that fateful day. School's better. I joined the track team, lost the accent mostly, and Jake? He actually became a decent guy, coaching Little League or something. But life throws curveballs, right? My dad got laid off, money was tight, and I started working part-time at a local diner to help out. That's where trouble brewed again. See, there was this new group of older teens hanging around, high school dropouts, I think, causing ruckus in the neighborhood. They weren't school bullies. These were street toughs, stealing bikes, harassing folks for cash. One evening after my shift, I'm walking home alone in the dusk when 3 of them corner me in an alley. "Hey, cutie, got any spare change?" the leader growled, his breath reeking of cigarettes. I froze, flashbacks to Jake hitting me hard. They laughed, pushing me against the wall, demanding my tips. I tried to run, but one grabbed my wrist. Panic set in. I yelled for help, but the street was empty. Or so I thought. Suddenly, tires screeched nearby. A black SUV pulled up, and out stepped, yep, you guessed it, Dwayne Johnson again. He was in town filming a movie, Fast and Furious, or one of those, and happened to be driving by. "What the hell's going on here?" he thundered, stepping into the alley like a force of nature. The thugs turned, smirking at first, but recognition dawned. "Yo, that's the Rock," one yelped. Dwayne didn't hesitate. "Let her go now," he commanded, his voice echoing off the walls. The leader puffed up. "Mind your business, movie star." Big mistake. Dwayne moved fast for a big guy, grabbed the guy's arm in a wrestler hold, twisting it just enough to make him yelp without hurting him bad. I said, "Let her go." The others backed off, hands up. He released the leader, who rubbed his arm, muttering curses but retreating with his pals. "Stay out of trouble, boys," Dwayne called after him. Next time, call the cops. He turned to me, eyes widening. Emily? That you? I nodded, shaken. Yeah, thanks again. We hugged, me this teen girl, hug of the rock in a dingy alley. He insisted on driving me home, chatting the whole way. Life's full of jabronis, kid, but you gotta keep fighting. At my door, he met Dad, who fanboyed hard. Dwayne even slipped me some cash for dinner on him, but really to help with bills. That night solidified him as my hero. I started following his career closer, inspiring me to pursue acting myself. Auditioned for school plays, dreaming big. But wait, there's more, the biggest twist yet in part 4. Now for the grand finale, y'all. It's present day. I'm 20-something, living in LA, chasing dreams as an up-and-coming actress. Got small roles in indie flicks, thanks to the confidence Dwayne instilled. But get this, last year I landed an audition for a blockbuster. Something with action, heroes, the works. Walk into the room, nervous as heck. And who's on the panel? Dwayne Johnson, producing and starring. Our eyes met, and he grinned. Emily? No way. We caught up post-audition. He remembered everything. The center, the alley. You've come far, kid, he said proudly. I got the part, a sidekick role opposite him. On set, he mentored me, sharing tips on stunts, lines, life. We filmed intense scenes, but off camera, it was laughs and stories. He even invited my dad to visit, flying him out. The movie's a hit, and now I'm getting recognized. But the real win? Knowing one act of kindness from a star changed my life forever. So, listeners, if you're dealing with bullies or doubt, remember, heroes exist, and sometimes they're named Dwayne. Turn pain into power. Thanks for listening. What a ride.